This could change, but for now, if I do a tape called Convo, it's not really meant to be listened to. And certainly I will delete things as I see fit. It's just to make sure that something is covered that I feel maybe I overlooked or should be talked about. You know, people like to talk, and I'm friendless because of the situation I've been held hostage to. Many people don't seem to really understand. I certainly don't trust my so-called peers about it. But there were a couple of mysterious people that I've never really discussed. But I thought about one of them because Donald Trump went to school with Francis Ford Coppola, who made The Godfather with Marlon Brando. And I've always known that something was suspicious about the Beatles because of the injustice of the way that I was abused rather than consoled when I woke up and found that they were blaming me for John Lennon's murder. After my father left my mother, we had a mysterious boarder up on the third floor attic room of our house. My sister and I would go up there and look out the window. We saw someone was on our swing set. Turned out to be this Andrew Cuppy Peckham from Idaho. And it was a strange situation around then. We had a Siamese cat that wouldn't let anybody touch us that died in the yard over the winter, which made us all feel badly. There was a man who was bellowing over in Marlboro, his wife always drunk and screaming his head off. And somebody spray painted, it was Kodak dated picture, 1966, so I tried to send to Jim Mars when I was forced to divest of all my property, which they were arranging to pull again. That said, I love Sarah Saran, Sirasran. And of course, at least one person said, it's too bad you don't have that picture, right? Well, there's a lot of evidence that shows that all of this is true. You can take my word for it if you want to. Two Mysterian people I wanted to talk about. One of them was in that house up there on the third floor, and one day I climbed into the bed. My sister wanted to play doctor. She got in trouble for using nail polish on my belly button. But, you know, when my feet slid down the bed, there was something wet. It was like that scene in Francis Ford Coppola's film, The Godfather. Another was a guy who called himself Robert Schwartz, called Zeke. Schwartz took me over to a plot of land that was owned by the parks, I think. We had to climb the fence to get in. And he insisted on putting a rock on a bottle and lighting off a firecracker. And he reported that the neighbor was sure he heard the rifle and the whine of the bullet. This sounds very typical of the way that Post-Gazette goes about reporting things with the help of the Beatles. You know, they're so sure. It was a Warren Commission stunt. There was this guy named Ezekiel, I think his name was. They call him Zeke. He was a very buzzardly, strange person who would lurk on the shadows, so to speak. So, you know, we know that the First Lady, Jacqueline Onassis, was doing temporary work for the Beatles when she was First Lady. And we're hearing from Fox that there's still some time. Don't be so quick. Mr. President is still Mr. President. He may get his ass up his sleeve. Pittsburgh was a strange place back in the 70s. For me, it was like being a victim in Last House on the Left. Which is ironic, isn't it? When it comes down to the situation in Seattle with the Green Party. These people who are victims on the street of the COVID shouldn't be mistaken for the lopers. all connected up from UW, dialectical UWism, to the control towers of the Green Party and the BA and stuff like that. Those people were victimizing the low and downtrodden. You know, and they expect me to pledge my support for them. Get a life. I've investigated them. You can check out my blog, storychecksout.org. And they want to characterize me as like a exploiter or something. I mean, they really pulled a fast one. You know, off camera, they tortured me as a child, and then they brought me bewildered in a state of coma on camera to make their point. Ain't that something? The wizardliness of Penis J. Sinfield and his pervs at Warhol. And some of them self-destructed with the AIDS attacks so that they could say we are siphons, you know, and the CIA types here in Tacoma heard, you know, of the public concern of Crary's father, and so they figured, let's spread a rumor that he helped kill King, so the white owes the black man, and then we'll say, you know, since he's a communist, let's subject him to what communists do to people, and that's what they've done, you know, claiming there's some legitimate apparatus, Angela Davis and stuff like Jefferson Davis and Aaron Dixon, like Mason Dixon. I mean, it's all connected up by all over North. The Sturgis bikers, E. Howard Hunt, Frank Sturgis. I mean, it's a monotonous steeplechase of laws and disenfranchisement and cruelty, targeting a victim who Yoko Ono just identified as somebody from the fleet off the coast of Japan and followed for her revenge. You know, Lenin was in on the whole thing. They had Errol Flynn and Ronald Reagan in movies with a lot of Hitler-Reagan semiotics. You're not supposed to say that, but he laid a wreath at Bitburg-Belsen. I mean, he says it himself in that way, you know, in his sign language. So you have this, you know, double speak. They're allowed to admit that they're fascist, but you're not allowed to say it. I mean, it's peculiar, but that's how it operates. And Flynn was in Laurel Canyon, where Houdini was from. You know, and they were using Lazarus as a code for Hitler. And then Ghost, Casper, right? So, I mean, we have that, you know, FBI file dump that's just a magic treasure map that shows where Hitler went. They were with him the whole time. They must have been, because they knew everything. You know, they didn't bother to try to catch him because Hoover was helping set up JFK, right? Set up the Axis. So you have Houdini and Lazarus and Casper, and then you have the double fantasy with, you know, Lenin stepping out. You know, everybody will help them work out the confusing puzzle of how to mislead the flock so that they would be all energized to play their war game and stuff. And the Spirit Foundation would be like, oh, wow, man, we're bar troopers. We're collecting for the pimps that have been, you know, and cheated by the liberals, you know. I mean, Hitler's mind was being given all sorts of feed by like the Japanese companies of porno. Robert Lee, who I've mentioned elsewhere, who was around with Ed Oz and that English fellow when I was attacked as a child, was Japanese, you know. It doesn't matter how pretty they are. I remember Eugene Sledge saying he gets a feeling about them. You know, it's hard to miss that Ichiro Suzuki came here, a man of genius and talent, and wrapped up his rookie year with the 9/11 attack. I mean, it was all a setup. And it worked because Her Majesty's government and Penis Gabriel was in on it, you know. So, I mean, all of our allies went on it. The Seattle Times even admitted that after it happened, that only for a day. It's hard to find it in the records. the headline was our allies were in on this, because they were. Why pretend they weren't, you know? So what they want to do is squeeze the victims for what little money they have in order to, um, you know, compensate other victims in food fight. I mean, it's like it's gone beyond food fight to the level of like blood-child parasitism, and they were planning to do this. They actually were planning to do this. I mean, they act like it was the mothers of invention, that's some necessity of the wheel, but it's cold-blooded atrocity, you know, and they want support for it. You have people like Kamala Harris saying anybody below $400,000 a year has to give everything they have. If he has $9,000 a year, squeeze him for everything he has, because people with $400,000 are off limits. I mean, that's the mentality that just got elected. I mean, it's not as bad as Trump, but it's pretty bad if you ask me. So, you know, they're not going to leave me alone. They've established that they're criminally insane. I mean, they've established that. That's not.